Hello squad, Rob here, nice to see you. Yes it is, so it's been a little while since we made a video like this, so I'm looking forward to doing this. Feel very inspired with the latest DLC release, which is the Crown Tundra. Firstly, we're going to chat about Galarian Articuno. Today's video is only going to be a brief example on how to use these Pokemon for competitive doubles, what moves they have which are good, abilities and whatnot. But I'll try and make it as quickly as possible so we get straight into it. For ability wise on Galarian Articuno, it has competitive, which is an absolute amazing ability. Raises special attack by 2 stages when your stats is lowered, which includes the likes of Intimidate. So I think Galarian Articuno is going to be a very scary Pokemon, and I think it's going to be highly used. So I think Intimidate users are going to drop down even more than they have already, just because of a Pokemon like Articuno. Moveset wise, let's have a look, see any notable moves. I think Galarian Articuno actually is a pretty solid move pool, to be honest with you. It does have Hypnosis, it has Tailwind, Recover if you want it. It does have Freezing Glare, which is a 90 base power move, 100% accuracy psychic type move, and it does have 10% chance to cause freeze. It has that Hurricane, a powerful stab type move, and it also actually has Trick Room, which is quite interesting. On top of that, it does. That's not the one we want, right? So TMs. So yeah, if we can find it, it does have. What does it have? It does have Imprison. So Articuno can actually run Imprison plus Trick Room, which is actually really nice, and I really like that. But outside of its stab moves, it doesn't have a great deal of coverage, because it is primarily a special attacker, so you do have to bear that in mind. It does have Shadow Ball. It's got Calm Mind there. It does actually have Ally Switch as well, which can be useful. It does have Expanding Force as well, which is also cool. Right, let's have a look at its stats. So Galarian Articuno, 90 HP, 85 attack. We won't really be using attack on it anyway. 85 defense is solid. 90 HP is also solid. 125 special attack. That is massive. With a Pokemon with the competitive ability, 125 special attack is huge, as well as 100 special defense and 95 speed. To me, that is just a solid stats right there. You know, that is incredible. Right, next let's check out Zapdos. So Zapdos is sort of like the physical equivalent to Galarian Articuno. Instead of competitive, it has Defiant, which raises its attack by 2 stages when its stats are dropped, which means you do get a +1 boost from Intimidate users. Because of you still get the attack drop from Intimidate, you're not going to get the straight +2, you only get +1, but still good, especially if you're on the field when your opponent's using a max move that lowers stats. In terms of moves, it does have, what's it got? Drill Peck, Brick Break, Quick Guard, a Thunderous Kick, which is its signature type move, and this also lowers the target's defense stat. So 100% of the time, as far as I'm aware, this lowers the target's defense stat, which is pretty cool considering it's a base 90 power move. It does turn into a 100 base power, no, sorry, a 90 base power max move, because it does get close combat as well, which does turn into a 100 base power max move. So it depends if you want to go for straight power or, well, it's up to you really. They both have great advantages. They're both cool. Unfortunately, no Tailwind for Galarian Zapdos. In terms of TMs, again, I don't think it has much outside of its stab moves. I know it does get Blaze Kick, which I did see. It does get U-Turn there as well. Acrobatics, you could make use of that. Stomping Tantrum isn't very powerful though. What else we got? Taunt, which can be useful. Superpower, there's Blaze Kick. Unfortunately, it does not get Wild Charge. It does get Throat Chop though, which is pretty cool. So it can hit those Psychic type Pokemon for super effective damage because it is weak against Psychic. So yeah, they're pretty good moves actually. Blaze Kick I don't think you're going to use because it's naturally, you know, like Blaze Kick, fire type move, super against grass. It's got flying for that. Doesn't need to hit steel. with fire type moves because it's got fighting type stab. So I don't think that's going to be too useful. It does have dual wing beat as well if you don't want to run a move with recall and you do want the chance of being able to break focus sashes and take them out in the same turn, such as attacking Whimsicott maybe. It also does have coaching as well. You use that on an ally Pokemon, boosting their attack and defense stats. I'm not sure that's going to be super useful for Zapdos, but it could be handy. You don't know. In terms of stats, very nice stats. 90 base HP, very solid. 125 attack stat, which is huge. That is massive. 90 defense, 85 special attack, 90 special defense, and 100 speed. Now, to me, they are absolutely solid stats. It has some nice natural bulk there with 90, 90, 90. 125 attack is huge. We're not going to worry about special attack. We're not going to use it anyway. And 100 base speed is just a nice base speed to be sitting at. In my opinion, very, very solid Pokemon. I think we're going to see a lot of Galarian Zapdos as well. I definitely am going to make a lot of use of Galarian Zapdos. Now, last but not least, we have Galarian Moltres. Now, I personally believe Moltres got the short end of the straw here. Its ability, Berserk, boosts the Pokemon special attack stat when it takes a hit that causes its HP to become half or less. Now, unfortunately, this is a very situational ability. I think they did Galarian Moltres dirty. As far as I can tell, I did have a quick look at its moves, but we have another look. It's got a Sucker Punch, but it's not really a physical attacker. It does have Air Slash. It has its signature move, Fiery Wrath. Has 20% chance, I believe it is, to make the opponent flinch, which is pretty good. It's got Hurricane as well. It does have Air Slash, yeah. Does have Sucker Punch. But yeah, it doesn't have Roost or anything. It doesn't have Tailwind, which I think is really unfortunate. I think if it had Tailwind, it could be somewhat more useful. But I mean, it is too early to say to call the meta at the moment because it has only just dropped. But it does have Snarl as well, which can be a very good move. Especially as being stab and coming off its highest attack stat. Shadow Ball. Does have Nasty Plot. In terms of tutor moves, though, it only has Dual Wing Beat and Lash Out, which are both physical. We have another quick. I don't think there was anything else there that really stood out to me. Yeah, it doesn't have a great deal of things to work with, in my opinion, but I could be wrong. Only time will tell. Stats-wise, again, I think they did it incredibly dirty. As you can see, regular Moltres has 125 special attack, which is huge. But if you look here, Galarian Moltres got 90 HP, which is great, 85 attack, mediocre, 90 defense, which is solid, 100 special attack, which is also fairly mediocre compared to its regular form of 125, and it's got 125 base special defense, which is nice. But stat distribution doesn't really do much for me, unfortunately, and it does have that 90 speed as well. I feel like it could see some play, but definitely the weakest of the three. Right, next we're going to go into Team Builder. I have made some sample sets that you can try out yourself, even if you just use this as a base guide. But firstly, we have... Let's just close that down. Firstly, we have a offensive set. We've got a Life Orb on here with competitive. You can change that item. You could put Focus Sash. You could put a berry that reduces super effective moves from a certain type, depending on if your team is already using Life Orb or not. In terms of moves, though, I've got Freezing Glare, Air Slash, Tailwind, and Protect. Simply because, two stab moves here. Air Slash does raise speed by +1 as a max move. Tailwind is a great move to help support your Pokemon, giving you double speed for 4 turns. Protect is very mandatory. All Pokemon in VGC typically run Protect. You could, though, if you wanted to, if this is a Pokemon you plan to Dynamax a lot, you could remove Protect and put Shadow Ball for a little bit more coverage, because Tailwind will turn into Max Guard. But yeah, very simple set of Timid, Max Speed, and Special Attack. Fairly simple. You could run Modest if you really wanted to. I feel like running Timid is a bit better to outspeed base 90s and speed type with other base 95s, such as Arcanine Arcanine, for example. And I've actually built another Articuno set as well. Now, this one is more of a support Articuno set. Like I said, because Galarian Articuno does actually have quite nice support moves. Like I said, it does have Tailwind, double speed on your side for 4 turns. Freezing Glare is a great signature move. I think you should run that most of the time. But it does actually have Imprison and Trick Room. Now, if you are running a team that doesn't want to be playing under Trick Room, I think running Prison and Trick Room can be very solid. It's pretty fast for a Trick Room Imprison user. You could run max speed if you wanted to. I personally made this set more as bulky as possible. You know, it's maxing out that defense to make it nice and bulky. It also does have recovery if you didn't want to run Tailwind. Personally, though, I think you probably would. But yeah, you could also run max HP and speed, or you could run this set very similar to the other set. You could put Freezing Glare, Air Slash, or you could keep Tailwind, and you could just run max special attack and speed. That also works. You know, you support your team, and then you just fire off some powerful Freezing Glares, especially if you're getting that +2 competitive boost. Very powerful. Because I built this as a more supportive set, I did just put a Cassette Berry on it, which weakens, for 1 turn, the damage of Ghost-type attacks. Right, next we have Zapdos. So this is a very straightforward, physically offensive set. Life Orb, Defiant. Stats-wise, we've got Jolly Nature, Max Speed, and Attack. In terms of moves over here, I've got Close Combat, Brave Bird, Throat Chop, and Detect. Now, you could remove, like I said, if you are running a team, if you're normally running this sort of Zapdos, you probably don't want to be running a Trick Room team. So you could over Throat Chop, put Taunt if you wanted to try to prevent your opponent from setting up Trick Room. You could also run Thunderous Kick over Close Combat if you wanted to, as well as Dual Wing Beat over Brave Bird. It really is up to you. Brave Bird will hit as hard, and I think it's probably worth it. Does turn into a very strong max move. Close Combat does turn into a max knuckle base 100, whereas Thunderous Kick is only +90. But obviously, with Close Combat, it is stronger at 120 base power, but you will lose defensive stats. And Zapdos is fairly naturally bulky, so lowering your defense is probably not going to be all that great. But Thunderous Kick does lower the opponent's defense 100% of the time. Again, like I said, you could put Throat Chop. If you do plan to max this a lot, you could also remove Detect and put maybe Coach in or Throat Chop, because Taunt could also turn into Max Guard, so that is an option. And last but not least, we have Moltres here. Now, for Moltres, because I'm not too fond of its stats or its move pool, I have built it more of a supportive set here. It's got the Avag Berry, you know, restores 33% max HP when your HP is 1/4 or less. In terms of moves, we've got Fiery Ref, 20% chance to flinch, I believe. Yeah, according to this anyway, could be 10%. In terms of that, I've also got Snow, great support move, does have Stab coming off a solid special attack stat, as well as lowering their special defenses, which is pretty nice if you're partners with another Pokemon that hits special. No, sorry, this lowers their special attack. So, in theory, this can make you more bulky. It makes your opponents weaker if they are special attackers, sorry. So that is good. Taunt helps stop other opposing Pokemon from setting up Trick Room, for example. And it does have Air Slash if you want to max it and fire off those max Airstreams, get yourself +1 speed. But yeah, I'm not too fond of it personally. In terms of stats wise though, I made it bold. Physically, like I said, because it's very naturally especially bulky anyway, so you don't really have to invest much into it. Apart from that though, I gave it max HP, relatively near max defense, so it's nice and physically bulky, because it does have quite a lot of weaknesses for things that are fairly common. But yeah, that's pretty much that though. We will just go straight back to these very briefly. We will talk about the weaknesses, because I did accidentally miss that. In terms of Galarian Moltres, where are you? There you are. He is weak to electric, resist grass, weak to ice. It's immune to ground, obviously. Immune to psychic, weak to rock, resistant to ghost and dark, and weak to fairy. So its weaknesses aren't that common actually. I mean, electric's fairly common, so is rock. Fairy's actually pretty common as well. Other than that though, it has a fair, you know, I'd say it's pretty reasonable. Not the greatest. So let's go back to Zapdos and check Zapdos. So Zapdos is weak to electric, which is weird to think. It's weak to ice, immune to ground, weak to flying, weak to psychic, very resistant to bug, resistance to dark, and weak to fairy. So Galarian Zapdos actually has quite a lot of weaknesses. But personally though, flying and fighting is a very nice coverage there, especially like I said, you're going to be getting that max knuckle plus max airstream, boosting both your attack and your speed of both you and your opponent, which I think is incredible. So I think Galarian Zapdos definitely has the best offensive typing in conjunction with its max moves, but that's just my opinion. In terms of Galarian Articuno, it's weak to electric, resist grass, weak to ice, which is weird to think. Immune to ground, resist psychic, weak to rock, weak to ghost, weak to dark. Yeah, and that's it. Cool. Right, so we'll go over to Picalytics quickly, see how they are being used. That's a bit of a weird ad. Right, so top 4 moves: Freezing Glare, Protect, Hurricane, Imprison, Expanding Forces Air, Tailwind, Trick Room. These aren't going to be very accurate at the moment because obviously the meta has just come out, so it's changing very rapidly. There is no moves yet either, but we will check Zapdos and Moltres as well. There is Zapdos. Thunderous Kick, Brave Bird, Close Combat, Detect. You've got U-Turn there. Stomping Tantrum, Coaching. Partners, no items are a bit. Yeah, so no items or stats yet, and we'll check Moltres. Well, let's just have a little look. Doesn't hurt, does it? So yeah, Fire Raft, Nasty Plot, Snow, Hurricane, and they'll bring none of the items or stats or anything. Nope. Right. Yeah. So that's pretty much that, really. Right. Okay. Cool. So I think that's probably pretty much it for the video. Hope you've enjoyed this quick video. You know, get to see a little bit of the new Galarian birds, how you can use them for competitive doubles in VGC. I think they'll be very good Pokemon, especially Articuno and Zapdos. I don't think you'll see much of Moltres, unfortunately, but you never know. It's too early to tell. Otherwise, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you all very soon. Make sure to leave a like on the video if you enjoyed it. It helps me out a lot. Otherwise, I'll see you all later. Take care, everyone. Rob out, and goodbye.